What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of Pursuit Perspectives brought to you by A.Bevy Incorporated. I am so excited for B. White and all the great things he's doing, and I am completely excited to have our third guest on with us, Dr. Wes Bellamy in the building. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, T. I really appreciate you. Shout out to my man, B. White and A.Bevy. Much love and much respect. I'm happy to be here.
Yes. Hey, man, let's get straight to it. We have lives to change, nations to move, and things to shake up. You are a man who is very busy. And today we get to talk to you a little bit about a purpose. You do so much, Dr. West. You wear so many hats. You are a husband. You are a father. You are an activist. You are an author. Can we get into that when white supremacy knocks? Fight back. I love everything that you're about. I guess my biggest question is how do you balance between priorities and your purpose?
Well, it's a consistent state of evolution for myself, and I think for all of us. And we have to be cognizant and clear and honest with ourselves when we're talking about how we're trying to balance different things. Are we prioritizing what's most important? And then for me, it's a learning process. So my wife and I, we often have conversations and discussions about prioritizing the right things. And I'll be honest, I haven't always done that. So it's a process, something that I'm learning again, and it's something that I'm consistently trying to work on and thanking God for his grace to allow me time to be able to get through it. So for a lot of people, I get that question all of the time. I think that it's imperative for people to find out what works best for them. But I will say that I've found out firsthand that you can be doing a wide variety of different things throughout trying to change the world or whatever you feel that you're supposed to be doing. But it's imperative to keep home happy first. So there's a saying that my friends and I like to say, keep the main thing the main thing.
Yeah.
And my wife and my children are the main thing. Now, balancing that with what I believe to also be my calling in terms of helping our people is a challenge. But I think that anything that's worth fighting for is worth trying to figure out. So I have to fight to figure it out. And again, just rely on the wise counsel of my family, wise counsel of my friends in that regard, but also ultimately rely on God. And that's kind of how we've been able to do so.
Shout out to the village, though. I feel like no great person has got to where they are and where they're going to go by themselves. So shout out to your village for covering you and assisting you with all the great things that you're doing and going to do. So when it comes to purpose, a lot of people have, I guess you can say, the privilege of kind of having a baton kind of pass to them and then kind of keep the greatness going. Would you say the same kind of happened for you, or did you kind of pick up your own baton and torch and hit the ground running?
Well, it's a little different. Everybody has their own plight. I will say that I have been blessed since a very young age, being told that I was special, probably from the time I was maybe 4 or 5, as early as I can remember. People have always told me that you're different, you're special. And then, as a little kid, you just start to believe it.
Yeah.
So when you believe something, you start to, well, if I'm special, then maybe I should be doing this or I should be doing that. And I was an avid reader as a child and loved reading about things specifically pertaining to our people and Black history and things of that nature. So I believe that God has often or has always kind of called me to do certain things. And it was just about refining and understanding my calling. I never had anybody just kind of quote unquote, just pass the baton to me. I've kind of had to make a way, but I have had mentors and people who have helped shepherd me along the way throughout my life. My father and I, we weren't the closest as I was growing up or even as I kind of got into this sphere. However, I've had several father figures or older brothers or people from the neighborhoods who, probably not people who would think we should take advice or listen to, but those kind of folks have always made sure that I was straight. Those kind of folks have always made sure that I stayed grounded and remained humble and offered advice. And then again, I've had people from pastors to uncles to homies up the block and around the way, always just kind of, again, shepherd me and help me get to where I need to be. So I'm truly a person of the community. And for that reason, I think it allows me to be able to relate to different people in a different way. And also because I didn't get a quote unquote baton from anyone, it allows me to kind of stand on my own and speak my own truth because I believe the truth that I'm speaking comes from God. And this is what I was made to do. so I don't have to worry about how anyone else is going to perceive it. I'm comfortable with who I am, and I can just operate how I need to.
Wes, I feel like so many people look to you for certain things, and that you have a responsibility to a lot of people, whether you know it or not. Those that follow you on social media, those that read your books, those that you feed into from your own home. What do you feel your biggest responsibility is to whoever you feel is feeding from you?
Oh, my number one responsibility is to God. That's first and foremost, and then below that becomes family and my community, and those things are all intertwined. So I have a responsibility, and I just let me just say, I think it's imperative that we become comfortable with ourselves.
Yeah.
And what does it mean to be comfortable with who you are? Is only a question that each individual can answer. For me, I am absolutely okay with being an unapologetic Black man, showing up as my most authentic self in every space that I go into.
Oh, yeah.
Because of my privilege, though, because I have a doctoral degree and I'm a department chair at a college, I'm a former vice mayor, national co-chair of our Black Party, and author, and so forth. Those things allow me a certain level of privilege, so I don't have to play a certain game. But I understand and I'm cognizant that not everyone is afforded these titles, or not everyone is afforded kind of the ability to be able to say, regardless of what you think about me, I'm comfortable with who I am based off of the accolades and the things that I've done in the past. And I can stand on my own too and not worry about what you think.
That's it.
Not everyone has that level of confidence.
Mm-hmm.
So because not everyone has that level of confidence, I believe that it's my calling to help empower our people to walk in that same light. It doesn't matter if you have 4 degrees or you didn't graduate from middle school. You are Black, you are beautiful, you should be proud of who you are. It doesn't matter if you are at the highest socioeconomic status or you are on the lower end. You still are one of the most powerful persons on the planet, because we come from a bloodline of people who are beyond brilliant. So because I believe that, my responsibility, I believe, is also to our people. And again, that is my number one kind of responsibility. Obviously after my duties to God, duties to family. I live in a neighborhood right now that is one of the last Black neighborhoods in the city. It's on the lower end of the socioeconomic status ring. I live in the middle of the hood, but I intentionally live amongst my people because my people are going to be there for me and I'm going to be there for them. And I never want them to think otherwise. And I know that that love is reciprocated. And even if it wasn't, I still have an obligation to do what God called me to do. And in this season, this is what I'm made to do.
That's perfect. So with this next question, I'm gonna kind of start broad and just kind of bring it back in, but touch on a lot of great points, from calling to purpose down to the Black people. I feel that we as Black people, we are the dominant race. And again, I'm not saying that to be on this parade of being pro-Black. And now, first of all, I am pro-Black, but I'm calling it what it is. Black people are the only race to lay down to have children and that baby still be Black. Do you understand what I'm saying? Aside from that, the Black woman is the only species that can have a different color baby. We can albino, dark skin, light skin. It doesn't matter. But I feel like we are such a powerful race, and we live in a age and a generation where people are feeling some sort of an awakening. They know they're great, Dr. West. They know that they're destined for greatness. They know that they're destined to do wonderful things. But I feel a lot of people have a hard time honing in on what their it is. So I guess my question is, questions are, do you feel there's a difference between a calling and a purpose? And how do you know when you found the calling and or the purpose?
It's a great question. So you won't know, in my personal estimation, you won't know until you experience a few things. And I think some of us are often rushing to try to find out what our purpose and or our calling are before we've had the experiences of truly being in positions where it can be laid out perfectly for you to understand, or rather, have you opened up your heart and opened up yourself to be able to listen to what your actual calling is? There's a difference between what you want it to be and what it actually is.
Come on.
Those are two completely different things. And oftentimes when we walk and operate in a manner in which we are trying to push things from our personal selves, it often doesn't work out, opposed to when we open ourselves up to not only what the higher power is calling for you to be, but what the universe is asking for you to be at this moment in time.
Yeah.
I'm also an individual that believes that you have different callings and different purposes at different points of your life. Not everybody is meant to do the exact same thing at the exact same time throughout the duration of their life. I thought that there was nothing more for me to do or be other than a city council person in Charlottesville, Virginia. I thought me being the vice mayor, and even when I decided not to run, I was on the fence. Like, man, am I going to lose my identity? Am I not going to be seen in the same light? But I remember God like very clearly saying to me, if you trust me on this, I have something much better for you if you just listen. And when I decided not to run for re-election, that's when I started coming in contact and beginning having conversations with Diddy and different folks. And then we started our Black Party with a group of folks who were already working on it. But it just seems like, you know, when we open ourselves up to listen, to understand what our calling and our purpose is, and do so in a way in which we get out of our own way and allow the universe, or allow the higher power, allow God, for what I believe, allow God to be able to get us to where we need to be, things seem to, in my opinion, just fall into place in a much easier trajectory. How does a person find their purpose? How does a person find their calling? I'm an avid believer in having time by yourself, quiet time, either meditating, either reading, either listening. For me, it's jogging. I'm not like, it's hard for me to just sit still, but while I'm jogging, things kind of come to me and they're in a very clear space. I allow myself to just listen and become one with myself, one with the surroundings, and listen to what is being spoken to my heart. That's the first piece. How else do you find it? It's kind of challenging to find your purpose, for your purpose to be laid out to you, if you aren't open in a way in which you are living in a kind of righteous way. Now, that's not to say that I'm here as a person who's kind of holier than thou, because I'm not. I definitely have a lot of things to work on. And my wife just walked out, but she would tell you that I have a long way to go. But I will say that, like, during the beginning of quarantine, and I'll be transparent, like prior to March, I was on the fence. This book, like it shouldn't have taken me as long as it did to write the book, and I was just kind of at a roadblock, and things weren't going as I wanted them to. And I'm like, what's next? I can't seem to get over the hump. But once my wife and I kind of got on the same page, and once I started doing some internal work and cutting out some of the things that I was doing before, I realized that were a hindrance. It seems like the doors just opened all the way back up. And I felt similar, you know, a couple of weeks ago. I've been running and doing all these other things. And once I took a moment to get centered, cut a few things out, come back one before I need to be, kind of recalibrate, doors open back up. So I think that's imperative for us to do.
100%.
Long answer, my bad.
No, everything that you said was perfect. Everything that you said it was the answer to the question, and very much so needed. You spoke of quite a few people that you've had the opportunity to kind of rub shoulders with, some giants whose shoulders you've had the opportunity to kind of stand on. And something that you touched on too, you mentioned that your purpose, you feel it can change.
Yeah.
Would you say that that's kind of what happened with you? Like, you found that your purpose or purposes have kind of evolved over time? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Like I understood that, like, you don't always have to lead from the front. Leadership isn't always just being the person who is out front saying, hey, we're going to do X, Y, and Z. Yeah. Leadership is sometimes sitting back, listening to those who may actually know more than you, and adapting what you believe to be right to be able to fit into a larger context so that you can help more people. I believe that leadership is also being able to recognize that you don't know everything. So because you don't know everything, you have to be able to adapt. Yes. I think that when we talk about different seasons in our life, like there was a particular time, especially in the beginning of quarantine, my role and responsibility wasn't to lead our Black Party. It wasn't to like lead turkey drives and like to finish the book. My role and responsibility was to my daughters, my wife, my family. I had to lock in specifically just with them. And especially my baby girl, Stokely, named after Stokely Carmichael. For her, like, she was a newborn. She was just born in September of the year. And she kind of demanded that daddy pump the brakes on everything. And I firmly believe that it was God kind of speaking to me. But my season for maybe those 3-4 months was, again, not to worry about any of the other things. And that doesn't mean like you just stop doing work, but it was to lock in and ensure them my family, that they were the number one priority. And once that was secured, once my wife and I got back on the same page, and once my family and I got on the same page, and once everyone, and once I was able to show them and also allow them to show me different things about ourselves so that we can grow, things begin to, again, like evolve in a way in which I believe to be beneficial for all people. So it's just all about, again, in my personal opinion, it's all about being open, not only to change, but understanding the seasons, understanding who you are, but being in tune with what's going on around you.
100%. 100%. You talked to about your role as a councilman and how you felt like that was just the it thing for you. And one thing I often say too is sometimes people's praise about us can become our prison, because we think that we have to fit into this mold and this idea of what others think that we are. So the fact that you find it to be important to go back inward, the inner self, that's kind of where I got the idea from my organization, Channel 1341. It's a whole backstory, but the work is inside. You have to go back in to find out what you have to get out, to better the people around you, your environments. First and foremost, taking care of self and home, because if the house is not together, how can I go out and build a neighborhood? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Your last 30-second spiel for those individuals that are going to feed off of this now and years to come, when you and I are toasting, sitting with the Oprahs and the Diddy's, and they're going to play back a clip of this conversation. Last 30-second spiel of just encouragement to those that need it, those that look up to you, those that are going to meet you now in the future, know you in the past. Your last 30-second spiel about purpose, going after it, and any last minute words you want to encourage the babies with.
Yeah, I would say you are good enough. That's first and foremost. And then secondly, be patient with people, but impatient with progress. We have to be patient with people because everyone is growing at their own pace, ourselves included. So have the grace, allow yourself the grace to understand that you're growing at your own pace, and you're growing just as God asked you and designed for you to do so. You're not in competition with anyone else, nor are you on anyone else's time clock, but you have to be patient with yourself to get to where you need to be. I would say be impatient with progress, because as we are consistently looking to improve the state of our people, we're looking to consistently improve the state of ourselves. We have to be willing to become uncomfortable in a wide variety of different situations. So patient with people, impatient with progress, keep going. You're good enough, and we're going to be there. We'll get through this as we always do. And I can't wait to see what the next chapter of everyone's lives looks like.
I'm excited for it. Dr. Wes Bellamy, thank you for your time. Thank you for our Black Party. Thank you for all the wonderful things that you do within your community, outside of the community, lives that you change, names you'll never know. We appreciate you. We edify you, and we are here to support all the work that you do. Thank you.
Thank you, my sister. I appreciate you.
Of course.